Awesome. Okay. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. So good to see you guys. Happy 2021. Obviously, here we are starting remote for a couple weeks, but the timeline for us coming back to hybrid has hopefully been moved up a little bit. They're hoping that instead of the end of February, that they're shooting more for the end of January to at least come back to a hybrid schedule because it's obviously so much better to be learning in person, and we'll just go with the flow and we'll make it work. So, however it works, it works. And we'll make the best of it, as we always do. I just wanted to take a little bit of time today. I'm not going to keep you the whole time, not even close. The plan is to get you out of here in about 20 minutes or so, and just kind of go over a couple things that I think would be very helpful for you to have, a couple things that I think are important to know, recap a little bit from December so that we get back in a little bit of a trig mindset before we get into some stuff tomorrow. I think that the stuff that we talk about this week and even into next week, for most, if not all of us, will be review a little bit from last year. But I know that because the trig happened remotely last year too, it's a shot in the dark as to whether or not you really remember all this stuff. So here's what I'm going to do. I want to first mention a couple things. Number one, if you didn't hear me or didn't see the message that I sent out on Canvas, the Wi-Fi has been going in and out, so there's a very good chance that at some point I'll just like freeze like that for a second and then drop for a minute while the Wi-Fi restarts itself and then comes back. The recording will continue and I will be back shortly. So thank you for your patience if that does happen. Hopefully they fix it though, because it's been pretty good for the last 5 minutes. But thank you for your patience if that does happen. Number two, the schedule for the remote part of this semester, at least for these next couple of weeks, is a little bit different than it was in the fall. And I'm not sure if you have had a chance to take a look at that, or if you know that things have changed. I'm going to drop it in the chat right now. In case you want to open it up and see it, in case it's new to you. The schedule includes something a little bit different on Wednesday and something a little bit different on Friday. I'll start with the Friday. The Friday, the PLC time has just been extended, I think a little bit longer than it was. I think the timing is just changed, not a whole lot, but just a little bit on Friday for that asynchronous time. My plan is that every Friday will be completely asynchronous, and there's nothing you need to log on live to do. Now we do have a lot that we do want to cover, so there may be a Friday where I ask us to hop on, but I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I'm going to do everything I can to keep your screen time as low as possible. I really want to do that. Like my wife ended up having to go get glasses over winter break because her eyes were hurting so much from all the screen time. She needed a light prescription anyway, but she got the blue blockers with them, so hopefully that'll help. But I know how tough it can be. So Fridays are a little bit different, so just kind of keep an eye on that in terms of timing if we ever do need to meet. But look at Wednesday. There's something in between fourth and fifth period there that maybe your teachers so far have talked to you about, maybe not. But homeroom is basically kind of replacing access from last year. I don't know how similar or different it might be to access from last year. But I know that every Wednesday from 11 to 11:35, we will have that time. Now that time, that homeroom time, is either your fifth or your sixth period teacher and all of the students in that class getting together separately for homeroom, okay? And maybe it's just some school-wide info that we need to get out and make sure that everybody had a class, or maybe it's a quick lesson. Maybe there's a district-wide or a school-wide initiative that we want to make sure that we're spending some important time doing that's just outside of the normal curriculum, because obviously what we do in school does not cover all of life. And there's important things that we need to talk about. And so hopefully we can make good use of that time, and it's not just, sometimes access last year didn't really get as much out of it as we wanted to. So we're refining things, and we'll see what happens. If you don't have a fifth or a sixth period, then it would be me, fourth period. It would be a fourth period class. But I'm guessing most of us have a fifth or a sixth. But if you don't have fifth or sixth, like if you have lunch and then off or vice versa, then you'll be part of my homeroom. You'll join my sixth period group. So I just wanted to make sure that you had all of that info in terms of that schedule. Okay. Any questions about that? Awesome. Cool. Yay. So there's that. There's the schedule. Hopefully that's not a long-term kind of thing. Hopefully this remote bell schedule goes away here in a couple of weeks. Preschool and elementary schools in Douglas County are back full time right now, and they're just going to see how that goes over these next couple of weeks. Obviously, they're going to look at the numbers for positive cases now that winter break has come and gone to see if there's an uptick. But if things stay low like they are right now, we're definitely we've made a lot of really good progress on positive case numbers, and those have gone down big time. If it stays that way, things will start to open up more. I know we've gone from red to orange, which is awesome. So I know some restaurants are starting to open up some reduced indoor seating, which is great. All sorts of good things happening. So let's just keep doing what we're doing, plugging away. We will get back, and hopefully sooner rather than later. I'd love to see you guys in class again. Cool. So that's that. Okay. So for us, what we're going to do, and what a lot of classes are going to do, and this is not just a Ponderosa thing, but I think a district-wide kind of idea for secondary schools. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are synchronous days where we have live Google Meets where here you are all with your cameras on. Thank you for that, to take attendance. But we certainly don't want you 4 days a week for 5, 6, 7 classes, 8 classes, spending 45, 50 minutes on each one. Your brains would fall apart and your eyes would melt, and that's never a good thing. So what they're hoping we do is move to kind of like a 2 and 2 kind of schedule where we have 2 kind of heavier days and 2 lighter days. Where the 2 heavier days are more focused on new content, kind of getting a lot of stuff out to you so that you can absorb it. And then on the lighter days, a chance to practice it. Something like that. Now, I don't know what's best for us just yet. So we're going to kind of play it week by week. So for us, our 2 heavier days will be tomorrow and Thursday. Okay, today will be just kind of be a lighter day. I would love to get you out of here in the next 10 or 15 minutes once I get a couple more things under our belt. And then we'll kind of go from there. I will probably ask you on Friday what works best for you for next week. Is it a Monday, Wednesday kind of thing where we work those days, and then Tuesday, Thursday are more of our work days where kind of similar to what we did when we went remote after Thanksgiving, or Mondays and Wednesdays is where we learn the stuff, and then Tuesday, Thursdays was, you could just practice at home. Well, we'll just practice at home, but we'll do it face-to-face, virtually. And we can ask questions, and we can just kind of work through that stuff so that I'm not sending out a whole bunch of stuff for you to do every single day. That would be too much for sure. But we do have a lot that we want to do when it comes to this trig stuff, right? And that kind of leads me into a couple things when it comes to talking about trig. We're about halfway through chapter 4, which is awesome. The rest of the way in chapter 4 are all graphing trig functions. Okay, looking at y equals sine of theta and y equals cosine of theta and tangent of theta, and kind of messing around with them too and doing transformations that go with them, which you might have seen last semester. I'm not sure. You should have seen it, and you probably talked about amplitude and period and phase shift and midlines and stuff like that. But I want to do it kind of from scratch. But I'll tell you what, graphing these by hand can be a lot of fun. But creating the set of axes and scaling it out is not fun at all. It takes forever. And so what I would like to do for you, and this is what I'm going to drop in the chat next, is include a link for what I think is my favorite, at least the most favorite that I found, already drawn out set of axes for graphs that we're going to do in trig. And so if I were you, I would open up that next link right there that I just dropped in there. Mathbits.com is a great place for all kinds of graph paper, in case you don't want to make your own axes. But I realized that maybe you don't want to, print out probably a few dozen copies of this, and that maybe you'd like me to make those copies for you. And I'm happy to do that, because we're not going to do any trig graphing today, but we are going to do some tomorrow. And so that link is there for you if you have a printer, or if you want to go to some place like Office Max and have them print it for you, or Staples or something like that. Or you can, send it to a family member that has a printer at work or something like that. Seriously, I would make a whole bunch of copies of that, because we're going to do sine and cosine, and then a lot of transformations of that. And we're going to do tangent, cotangent, secant, and cosecant. And I want to show you all of the inverse graphs as well. Now, inverse graphs are not going to go on those, because the x and y axis, of course, would switch. But I realize that not everybody has access to a printer. And so what I am going to do right after this class, because that's my lunchtime, is I'm going to make packets that are just copies of that blank graph paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to staple, I haven't really thought about the number yet. I'm going to think about this first, but a few dozen of those into one packet. And I'm going to put it in this folder. And I'm going to leave this folder by the security kiosk. There's going to be a desk sitting at the right outside the security kiosk. And I'm going to leave those packets in there for you to come pick up if you prefer. I would suggest, if you can, to come get them today rather than waiting until tomorrow, unless you can get here earlier. Because we're going to start graphing them tomorrow, and it's so much easier if you just have the set of axes already there. And so what I would love to just kind of get a show of hands, and there's actually a raise hand button down at the bottom of the Google Meet next to turn on captions, and next to turning on your camera, turning off the camera. Raise your hand if you would like me to make copies for you, because you expect to come pick them up either sometime today or in the next couple days. Obviously, if you don't have them, then you can just hand draw them, and we'll get off to a good start that way. You can download them, and if you have a tablet, you can just write right on the tablet. It's really just the experience of making these graphs and shifting them around. Let's see, we've got, oh, not that many. Okay, cool. So I'm going to make probably more copies than I need to, but you can just come pick up one packet of them. Let's see, what is it? It's 10:40, certainly by noon, but probably even earlier than that. I'll have all that ready to go, and I'll just leave it right outside the security kiosk. There'll be a table on the side. It'll say Rosengren, trig graph paper, take one packet. Okay. And if you need more, just tell me. Just tell me. Because we're going to do a lot of graphing here in these certainly the next couple days, probably mostly through next week as well, as we look at a bunch of different kinds of graphs. I was looking at the college trig, the CU Succeed college trig final exam, and there's not a ton of graphing on there, but the review that they sent out before that had so much graphing that I want to make sure that we cover ourselves and get ourselves ready. Speaking of college trig CU Succeed, registration is open. For those of you that are interested in taking a 3, not a 4, college algebra was 4, college trig is 3, a 3-credit CU Succeed college trig here in the spring. Okay, registration is open already. And so what I'll probably do on Canvas is I'll put up, just like I did last time, an announcement as usual, right? Announcements are my thing. I'm going to put up my daily announcements as always. But I'll put a special announcement here for CU Succeed stuff that'll include links to the registration form. That's exactly like it was last time. You just pick a different class, right? I'll send out all the class information, section numbers and all that kind of stuff. $77 times 3, again, for the spring. We'll take that final when we get it, probably in May, but we'll probably take that during finals week, because my plan for us is to get as much trig done here in January as we can, and as early as possible, stop. I want to get you all the trig knowledge that I think would be helpful for you in the calculus realm. And then we'll stop calculus like around May 1st and do a couple weeks of review, kind of like we did in the fall, where we stopped and I kind of filled in the gaps of the stuff that you needed to get yourself ready for that college algebra final. We'll do that again in college trig. I would love for us to be at least hybrid. When we get to the calculus stuff, it is way, way, way better to be in person to do that kind of stuff. But once we get the college trig stuff done to a level of satisfaction that I'm good with, we're going to start the calculus. Now, the calculus stuff, you are going to come pick up packets. For sure, guaranteed. The guided notes are spectacular and will save you a ton of time. So, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it for sure. When it comes to the calculus stuff, we definitely have a couple of weeks of trig leading up to what we've got going on. And speaking of wonderful trig, I'm going to drop one more thing in the chat, and I highly suggest that you save this thing somewhere. There it is. Open it up. Bookmark it, save it, download it, do something with it. That is a trig cheat sheet that I love. And I highly suggest you use it. And what I want to do is just kind of talk you through a little bit of this so you can familiarize yourself with this. This is one of the longer ones for sure. I've seen trig cheat sheets that are just one page front and back. This one's actually 2 full pages front and back, with a lot of stuff that we probably won't end up getting to. If you look at the first page, you see, some right triangle stuff with SOHCAHTOA, and of course, my all-time favorite, CHOSHACAL, with cosecant, secant, and cotangent. A little unit circle stuff there for x, y, being cosine and sine. Tangent, of course, y over x, which is sine over cosine, and then the reciprocals of that. The bottom half of that first page we have not talked about at all. We'll get into some of that stuff tomorrow with domain and range of these trig functions, and the period, because they're just going to repeat themselves because we're just going to go around the circle. So all these functions are all periodic. And then second page gets you into some of the things that we've actually already talked about, top left. Tangent and cotangent being sine over cosine and their reciprocal, of course. The reciprocal identities, like which trig functions are reciprocals of which. That goes into the whole co-function thing, right? If a trig function has a co in it, then its reciprocal doesn't. So cosine and secant, sine and cosecant, stuff like that. And then the 3 Pythagorean identities, which I think was the very, very last thing that we did before we called it a semester in honors pre-calc. Okay, but you can see from there's a whole lot more going on. You see that they use theta a lot, but they also start to use alpha and beta when they have 2 different angles. So if you look at the right-hand side of that second page, this formulas and identities page, probably my favorite page out of all of them. You see these half-angle formulas, sum and difference formulas. We can add 2 angles together, and there's just, it's amazing. There's so much cool stuff we can do. Third page is the whole unit circle. So you have a copy of that handy. Again, always keep that nearby, but it's got degrees and radians and the coordinates that go with it, which is awesome. Reminding us that any point on the unit circle, xy is cosine sine. Third page gets you a little bit into inverse trig. Inverse sine, inverse cosine, stuff like that, where we're just switching x and y. We'll get into that a little bit there on the 4th page. The top stuff, the stuff on the bottom half of that last page is more geometry stuff that we're probably not going to talk about. Law sines, law cosines. There is a law of tangents that we would never really get a whole lot into. You see alpha and beta, but also beta and gamma in there. So there's that 3rd angle. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, those are your first 4 letters of your Greek alphabet. But we're going to use theta as much as we can. And then Molewide's formula too. So lots and lots and lots of really, really good stuff that I hope you use. I hope we're going to use it a lot. I'm going to say take out your trig cheat sheet and let's look at this formula. Let's look at this identity. Let's see if we can build some stuff from there. trigonometry, I could probably teach a 2-year course on trig. That's how much stuff there is. But we're going to spend just probably 6 weeks. The 2 weeks from last semester and about 4 weeks here this semester. That's kind of my plan. And then we'll get into the good calculus stuff, because that's why you're here, right? The Canvas class is called Calculus A, and that's going to be our main focus. And that's the best. Gosh, I love it. I can't wait to start. But we do have some cool trig stuff that I want to make sure that we get a chance to talk about as well. So that's that. I think that covers most of what I wanted to do. Okay, so I'll make a bunch of copies of that trig cheat sheet stuff. We already kind of I mentioned a lot of stuff about trig that I wanted to make sure that we recap. Is there anything from trig so far that you think would be great for me to recap a little bit today? I know I talked about it a lot as I was just looking through that trig cheat sheet, but is there anything that just for a couple minutes, unit circle or right triangle stuff, or ratios or identities or anything like that that might be helpful for you? Because to me, I am going to rely a lot on what you already know to build from here. I'm going to believe in your understanding of, SOHCAHTOA and SHOSHIKAO. I'm going to believe in your understanding of the special right triangles. I'm going to believe that you understand that cosine is x and sine is y, and that every other relationship from there can be formed by some ratio of those. That Pythagorean triples like 3, 4, 5, right? And remember, Pythagorean triples are sides of right triangles that don't necessarily have nice angles besides the 90, but that have really nice integer side lengths. Like Pythagorean triples like 3, 4, 5, 5, 12, 13. They start 3, 5, 7, 8, 7, 24, 25, and 8, 15, 17. There's the dyslexia. I don't know if you saw me write the 7 first. Like knowing those are really nice. And so all of that stuff from last semester, if there's something that you don't remember, something you don't understand, now's the time to speak up. Or today's the day for you to look back at the stuff that we did, because I'm going to start looking forward. My plan, my hope is that if we can get some stuff done here quickly and we can get to calculus sooner, that's all going to be brand new stuff. And we're going to start speaking a different language. We're going to start writing a different language, and that language is going to be calculus. And the slower we can go with calculus, the more it will sink in, the more you will understand. Because for those of us that are seniors, maybe your first math class is going to be Calc 1 next year in college, if that's where you're headed. And a strong Calc A is going to help you a lot. Or maybe you decide, as a junior or a sophomore, like, hey, I'm going to go on to Calc BC next year and take the hardest math class this school has to offer. Well, without a good Calc A, it's going to be really hard and a lot harder than it could be. Or maybe you say, you know what, I'm going to go for Calc AB, and I'm going to see Calc A again next fall and still take that AP test and do really well. Well, having a good spring is going to make next fall be that much easier for you. So I really want to make sure that we do our best here in the spring with lots of good calculus stuff. Hopefully we can be back in person and do all this stuff face to face, because it's going to be so much easier for me to teach you calculus if we can do it together. So anything from trig that comes to mind that you would love me to just spend 30 seconds, 1 minute giving you a quick recap on? Or are you feeling pretty good? You feeling pretty good? Okay, sweet. So new stuff coming for sure. Tomorrow. Let's start tomorrow. Let's pick things up with 4.5. If you want to give yourself a little preview, you can go ahead and jump in. I took all of last semester and I copied it into our Calculus A Canvas class. So if you want to go back and look at it, it's all there. I have hidden most of it that isn't trig though. But if you want to, like if there's chapter 1 or chapter 2 stuff that you want to see, feel free. Just let me know. I'll publish it so that it becomes available. But I just wanted to keep it clean and streamline everything. So I think I hid everything that's not trig. Except for the announcements, which all copied over, and there's nothing I can do about those. So, so you have all the announcements too, but those will all get buried as I start doing new stuff. So I'm good. I'm gonna go make copies, and I'm gonna leave them by the front door. So come pick them up, certainly by 12. Can you go over what you've written on the board a little bit to refresh? What do you mean by that? Gracie. These right here, these Pythagorean triples. So these are called Pythagorean triples. And what we're looking at are right triangles whose side lengths are integers. 3, 4, 5. Now, this angle here, theta, whatever, this angle here, alpha, gross. Not pretty in degrees or radians. But these are really nice side lengths. Or maybe it's, you know, a 5, 12, 13 right triangle. Again, you know, call this theta, call this alpha, call whatever you want. Those angles are not going to be pretty, but the side lengths are. And they're not going to show up in the unit circle because those angle measures aren't really all that nice. So I'm not really worried about unit circle Pythagorean triples, because unit circle right triangles are only, let's see, like, that's gross, but the 30, 60, 90 ones and the 45, oh my goodness, I haven't drawn triangles in 2.5 weeks. The 45 ones, where we have those really nice angles and reasonably nice side lengths, right? 1, radical 3, 2, but yeah, let's cut that in half so it fits in the unit circle, right? And then radical 2, 2, but let's cut that in half so it fits in the unit circle, right? Those are kind of the special right triangles, which are really nice for unit circle stuff, but these Pythagorean triples are just sequences of side lengths for right triangles, because Pythagorean, I think Pythagorean theorem, right? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. They just end up being really nice. And multiples of all of these are also like 3, 4, 5. Okay, what about 6, 8, 10? Yep. What about 30, 40, 50? Yep, those all work too. Just to have them familiar, like to be familiar with them is just going to make your life a little bit easier. So you don't have to do the Pythagorean theorem over and over and over again to find some side lengths. But we'll stick mainly with unit circle stuff when it comes to graphing trig functions. So we're going to be in this realm over here when we start looking at, and you'll see, I'll send out some stuff during class tomorrow to help you kind of visualize where these graphs are going to come from, and I think it helps a lot. And there's so many cool things that we can do once we recognize that kind of waves that we're going to be looking at. So, but that's enough. I'm good. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I will see you tomorrow. Now, remember, the schedule for tomorrow is a little bit different than it was today. Tomorrow's class starts at 10:10 and only runs for 45 minutes. Okay, so we'll use that 45 minutes. And you'll have a homeroom that you'll go to right after that. Cool. Any other questions? Hopefully that helped, Grace. Good. If you have anything that comes up, just shoot me a message. I'm happy to help you kind of one-on-one, or we can meet on Fridays, or we can hang out. Baseball has certainly started, so my days have gotten a little bit more jam-packed with stuff. We're not doing anything official with school, but it's a long season, so I'm one of the varsity assistants, so I'm a little harder to track down. So take the time that you can to ask me questions if you do have any. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow, 10 after 10. Thanks, everybody. Welcome back. So good to see you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.